Hello everyone, welcome to this 25th episode of Chit Chat. Today I have Raghunath with me, and before he talks about his subject, let me just go through what the market did this week. So there was a good anchor, good green column of X in the last 3 days, and today there was a small column of O. Of course, this is Nifty futures because the data of Nifty spot is not yet available. It comes only after 6 o'clock. So that's why I'm taking help of futures EOD. So what this means is this bearish count is still open. The first count was 16716, second one is 16061, where there is another 45-degree trend line which is support. But I don't want to scare anyone. Right now we have a good column of X, and today was only a small pullback. So whether that pullback will take it down, that is impossible to say right now. But the trigger for that will be a double bottom sell, which will be below 16,630 on futures, and on spot it is slightly lower, 16,595 or something like that. So below that, then we can see a good drop, further drop. But till then, based on the options activity, what we have seen so far, it looks like we might have a sideways market, maybe between 16,800 and 17,100 to start with, and maybe after that it will take direction. And for our breakout on the higher side, the double top buy is above 17,087, that is 17,090 on the futures. So maybe around 1750 or 60 on spot, because the premium has gone down today. So that won't be very much different. And of course, then there is a big resistance over here, which was the starting of this column of X, and then this 45-degree trend line. So it's not likely to be very easy for the bulls because of the big anchor columns we have seen on the downside, and those will play a role. Because whenever you see any chart, the first thing which should come to your mind is how many green and how many red, how many X and how many O's, and what is the size of those columns. Yes, there have been good column of X over here, but now the column of O's have started. So we need a very strong reversal. The first attempt was made from 16,410 to 17,150 in the last 3 days, and that needs a follow through. And even after that follow through, 17,200 needs to be crossed. After that, 17,550 needs to be crossed. So it's going to be a tough job for bulls to bring back the bullishness which was there maybe a couple of weeks back. So it's not going to be easy immediately. Before I go to Bank Nifty hourly, let me come to the Bank Nifty point and figure chart, which is again futures EOD. This is also showing a same story, but of course Bank Nifty is definitely more weaker than Nifty. And here this count is still open, which is 34,200 and 32,700, which also coincides with 45-degree trend lines. But of course, that needs a double bottom sell only below 34,500 on the futures. Only then this fall can happen. Otherwise, on the higher side, a double top buy will be above 35,250. In fact, yesterday's high is extremely important because it was nearly at the 200-day moving average. So if that acts as a resistance, we might again be sideways between 35,200 and 34,500, and a breakout on either side will give a direction. So above 35,300 and below 34,400. On the hourly charts of Nifty futures and Bank Nifty, you can see here there are a lot of gaps now in the last couple of days, because in fact there were three gaps which out of which one was filled today. Below that we have a support near 16,862 over here, where you can see these two lines here. So that will be the first support if today's low breaks, maybe near 16,850, 16,860. And then if it closes below 16 today's low, then of course more downsides can be open. So it has to be taken level by level, because you cannot, it's not a runaway bull or runaway bear anymore. It was looking like a big bear market, bear trend, not a market, till 3 days back. But now some sort of recovery has happened. Again, this is Bank Nifty. It went on the higher side. It could not even fill the gap. Yesterday's high, like I mentioned, was near the 200-day moving average, and this gap has not yet been crossed. So it continues to remain weak as long as the futures is below 35,600 on in this case. But even a close above 35,200 should be good enough on the spot. 35,250. So that is about Bank Nifty. Another thing which I had mentioned last week was VIX. On the point and figure chart of VIX. Let me figure out. Yeah, this is trapped. In fact, between 20 and 15, I had talked about it over here. It was here that time. I had said below 15, it can be weak, and then which will be good for Nifty. And above 2021, it will be bad, which will be bearish for Nifty. But now it is trapped. So anywhere close above 20 or a close below 15 are the two levels on VIX which need to be watched out. Of course, this is a good bearish column over here. So maybe a pullback and then another follow through is what we can expect as far as the, based on the bullish scenario. For the bearish scenario, maybe 15 doesn't break and we go back towards 20. That is also possible. So right now, it is impossible to predict what will happen. And you have to take into account the individual levels which I have mentioned over here. One thing which I tweeted about today was the 17,000 put call ratio. It is quite strong. It is not as strong as it was maybe 2 days back, but the 17,000 put raters are still not giving away. So it will all depend on, you have to keep a close eye on what happens to the put OI of the 17,000 put and OI of the 17,000 call. Right now, the OI of the put is more than the OI of the call. So if that goes lower, if the OI of the put goes below the OI of the call, that will indicate bearishness. And then maybe you'll have to be ready for 16,900, 850 or even lower. So it all depends on how much, what happens is when the put OI goes down, that means there is a lot of put covering which is happening at 17,000 and that is bearish. So all eyes will be on the put call OI of 17,000 for the next couple of days. And let's see what happens. So till then, you have to take it level by level, and it is not prudent to talk about 17,500, 18,000 or 16,000 on the lower side. It has to be beyond a certain level and take it a day at a time. So that's all from my side. Today, Raghunath will be talking about the importance of IVs and how it affects the implied volatility, how it affects the options, and how it can be used for trading in options. So over to you, Raghunath.
As you can see, that in last 1 month or even more, I think that FIIs have been selling. Their net has been always negative. So they have been selling more than they are buying, and they have not stopped yet selling. They're selling, and that is the reason. There is a tough fight between bulls and bears in this case. So DIs are acting as the buyers, and the FIIs are acting as the sellers. So there is a tough fight going on between them. So let's
Just
see.
one question, Raghunath.
Yeah.
Can you show these statistics from start of the year?
Start of the year.
Or maybe a summary.
So
monthly.
we have monthly.
Yeah, that is what I meant.
So for example, if you go to FII,
yeah,
they have been selling in the last 3 months.
In fact,
for
the full 2021, they must be net sellers, right?
Yeah. Because if you go to yearly, if you go to FII, yes.
Yeah,
they have sold 90,000 net selling.
And yet Nifty is up by 20% or so. I don't know the exact percentage, but it is still up. So it's all down to DI and maybe who knows, retail.
Yeah, DIS and retail mainly.
Yeah.
Because and also because worldwide also the other markets are also doing well.
Yes.
So there is a still tendency to buy the dip. So that is also acting as a kind of support for the market. But I have no reason as to why FIIs are selling. One possible reason that the valuations are very high. Because if you look at
I don't know, valuations, if you look at the US market, those valuations are in actually space. They are much higher than...
Even they are very high. I'm not saying that other markets are not, but even other markets also in the same scenario. Of course, this is all liquidity driven. And
Yes,
because there is a hint from the Fed that they might taper the printing of the money,
correct.
so that might also trigger some of these sellings. But anyways, we'll see what will happen in future.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming to my topic, so I want to talk about something different. I think this I've never talked about. It's
No.
implied volatility and realized volatility, and how we can use it in options trading. So I've talked about implied volatility in option stock many times, and what it does and all those things. But today I want to compare these two together and how you can use these two together to gauge what market is trying to do, and when to avoid these short volatility or non-directional strategies. So this is a standard disclaimer. Now, to those who don't know what is implied volatility, it is the expected volatility in stocks future price as implied by the stock's option prices. So the implied volatility is determined from the option prices. So if the option prices are expensive, then implied volatility is very high. It's as simple as that. If it is very high, means that the market participants are expecting that in future there is a huge volatility for that particular stock or index. Now, implied volatility is expressed as annualized one standard deviation range of stock price. This is a standard definition, and we use calculate using the Black-Scholes options pricing formula. And here, high option prices, which means the options have high extrinsic value, and therefore they have higher implied volatility. So there is more risk premium there in that options, and that is why implied volatility is very high. And conversely, if the option prices are lower, there is a little extrinsic premium, and therefore the implied volatilities are very less. Now, what is realized volatility? Now, implied volatility is something we are predicting in the future, right? Like, what will happen in future, what kind of volatility the market participants are expecting. Now, realized volatility is something that what has happened previously, like what is in previous 10 days or 20 days or 30 days, what has happened. That is the realized volatility, well, which is the actual volatility. Now, to define it, it is the variation in the returns of the underlying stock or index obtained by analyzing its historical returns within a defined time period. So what we are doing is that we're looking at the variation in returns. Returns means daily returns, like a change in 1 day price. So that is 1 day return, right? So what is the variation in that returns over certain period of time? So it could be 10 days, it could be 30 days, something like that. So that is how you calculate the realized volatility. The most common measure to determine variability is by measuring the standard deviation, that is the variability of returns from the mean. Okay, so how much this variation in the returns, that daily returns, are from the average price of the underlying stock or index. Now it is measured by calculating the standard deviation of daily log normal returns of a stock or index in a given time period. As I said, it can be up to you. You can measure 10, 20, 30, 60, whatever it may be. And then whatever value you get, you annualize it. So if you calculate for 10 days standard deviation of 10-day returns, then you analyze it and then you get the annualized standard deviation. So people use different days to calculate that. If you use a shorter time period, then the realized volatility is much more responsive, just like moving average, right? Shorter moving averages are more responsive to price, right? Similarly, the realized volatility is also responsive to shorter time periods. Okay. Now, realized volatility is also referred as historical volatility or actual volatility, right? So this is the actual volatility that has happened in the market. Okay, so that is why it's called either historical volatility, because we are looking at its history, or actual volatility because that has which has really happened, right?
So it is something like what the market expected and what has actually happened.
Yes, exactly. So as I said, the implied volatility is forward looking, as it is predicting future volatility. Now realized volatility is backward looking, as it is measuring the actual volatility of the underlying stock or index. Okay, one is looking forward, one is looking backward. Now if you look at the if you plot the realized volatility and the implied volatility for, like, let's say realized volatility of 30 days and implied volatility of 30 days. Okay, for example, if you take the VIX or the Nifty VIX, right, it measures the implied volatility for future 30 days based for the next 30 days, right? So if you compare, apple to apple, that realized volatility 30 days and implied volatility 30 days, which is VIX, and you plot together, then what you see is that implied volatility overstates realized volatility majority of time. Okay, majority of time the implied volatility overstates the realized volatility. What it means is that the market participants are paying more for their hedging or for their speculation or for their risk control. They're paying more premium than it is required, than what has actually transpired compared to a realized volatility. Okay, so I will show you a graph, then you will understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'll just show the graph basically first here. So this is the implied volatility that you are seeing in purple, which is VIX here actually for the Nifty. And the green one is the historical volatility or realized volatility of the 30 days. Okay. So if you see here, the majority of the time in the last 1 year or 6 months or so, the implied volatility has overstated the historical volatility, which means there is an edge in selling options here, right? Because the real volatility is not actually catching up to the implied volatility. So you are able to capture whatever the difference is there. You are able to capture by selling options, right? So that is why if you look at ask any option seller or these market makers who sell options, the reason they sell options because there is an edge of this implied volatility overstating the realized volatility. And if you go even slightly longer period of time, let's say if I go like maximum of almost 2018, from 2018, if you look at this purple line, most of the time purple line is above the green line, majority of time. Okay, only transiently that green realized volatility comes up, but again goes down immediately. So that is the edge for the option sellers, and how they benefit from this particular difference in this realized volatility and implied volatility. Now the question is, can we leverage the spread that exists between implied volatility and realized volatility to better measure the relative attractiveness of a given trading opportunity? The trading opportunity for most part of the time will be selling options, to capture that difference in that volatility or risk premium. Okay, so that is, can we leverage that knowledge, or that is spread between implied volatility and realized volatility. Now if you look here, as I said, this implied volatility always majority of time overstates realized volatility. Now the way one can exploit is by selling options, like short volatility strategies, which can be iron condor or short straddle, short strangle, and all butterflies. short butterflies and those kind of things. So you're trying to capture that difference in volatility. Now, so one way how we can benefit is we need to have a way to measure this spread, right? Now, if you look at, one simple way is to simply, minus implied volatility minus historical volatility. That will give you the, spread difference in the spread. But sometimes it may not make sense because uh, you don't know what is a real difference between them at different levels. When the implied volatility is very high, if the realized volatility is also very high, I mean, if you just look at their absolute points, right? Sometimes it might look very small, but if you look at the percentage of the difference in that spread, it might be very huge when the volatility, implied volatility is very low. And when you look at the same this spread, when the let's say when the IV and historical volatilities are very high, right? When here you might see that, like 88 and 56, you might look at the absolute and say, oh, there is a big difference, right? But if you look at the percentage, it might be actually very less, relatively speaking. So that is why you have to calculate it as a percentage difference between them. Okay. So I will show you how you can calculate that. So how you can calculate this spread between implied volatility and realized volatility. So simple thing is you first subtract realized volatility from implied volatility and divide it by realized volatility. So it gives you how much high the implied volatility is compared to realized volatility. Okay. And you get in a percentage by multiplying it with 100. Now, for example, if you go on September 30, okay, for example, on September 30, right, 17.6 and 9.53, right? So if you calculate this using this formula, you get that it is 84% high than the realized volatility, the implied volatility. So it is very huge difference, right? So maybe we can use this knowledge to exploit using some kind of strategy. Okay. So now usually IV and RV spread when it is greater than 30 to 50% is ideal for short volatility strategies. So that is the ideal time, you can put a short triangle or short straddle or some kind of short volatility strategies. But if the spread, this IV RV spread is negative or close to zero, then you have to pay attention to your short volatility strategies. So you have to take some kind of caution or reduce your positions, or you might initiate some kind of other strategy, or you could take a long triangle or long straddle, or you can hedge your short volatility strategy, something that to mitigate that risk because of this difference, small difference between this IV and RV. So basically, when the spread is negative or when it's close to zero, is when the real volatility is catching up to implied volatility, which means actually the market is very volatile and it's almost catching up to what is implied volatility is trying to tell you, right? So there is no difference between them. So there is nothing to gain there by shorting volatility at this point of time, because we don't know how high this historical volatility can go up above the implied volatility. Okay, because the market can stay very volatile, and your delta moves and gamma moves can damage your the short straddle or short triangle strategies. So that is the reason you need to pay attention when the spread between them is zero or negative. Negative is when the realized volatility is above the implied volatility. Okay, for example, in the November, if you see close to November, the it started going close to zero somewhere here, And as you can see, and then the market went very volatile and market went down also. So this is what happens when the historical volatility catches up to implied volatility. So you have to pay attention to this part of this particular spread, IV minus RV spread. And actually, if you go to and see what has happened before this in the March 2020, right? Now the market was very happy and historic implied volatility was overstating. See, if you look percentage terms, it's almost 50% above, like 15 and 7, right? So it's almost even 100% above if you look at the spread here. So it was very nice market for shorting volatility because everything is looking hunky dory here. But after later in January or so, the starting of January, the spread started closing down. Okay, and it was catching up. And then now you know what has happened after that. Then the real volatility has started showing up, and then market started going down. So that is the reason you have to pay attention to this spread, because it will tell you, like, that some major change is going to happen to the market in terms of volatility. Uh, so that is what I wanted to say. And if you look at the backtesting of some of these, and if I go to last 1 year or so, if you see this period from around May or around, yeah, June period and all this period, you see that the implied volatility was so high compared to the historical volatility, and that is why in the last 1 year or so, the backtesting. If you look at the backtesting, the market was this is for last 2 years, but if you look at 1 year, this is a short triangle with entry of 30 days before expiry and exit 5 days before expiry, monthlies. And you will see that it has given a very nice results, which I will show you, and also show you one particular examples of when the historical volatility caught up to the implied volatility. What has happened to the strategies there? Now here, as you can see, throughout that year, it was very nice there, right? And if you look at in July or so, uh, yeah. So let's look where it caught up here. So if you look in this here, around April, May period or so, they're very intertwined during this period, right? Sometimes it went down, little bit went up. It's kind of very close to each other. So the spread was not very much during April period or so. Despite that, right, it gave a good returns. Okay, good returns means not maybe 5,000 or so. The only reason is because the IV was very high during that period. But if you look at overall picture of how this trade has happened, right, you will see that there is a huge volatility during that period. Okay, and also before yeah, and after that, then it went very smooth. I wanted to show you something else, maybe December on, I think. Yeah, during March and April period, as you can see, this was not very smooth. It went into negative and again went positive, again went negative. So you'll see that kind of returns when they are intertwining with each other. Now, at later time points when everything was smooth, you see, you will not see any big volatility in the this short strangle strategy. I wanted to show a period where there was huge volatility. Yeah, yeah, this one during the February period, Jan and February period. If you look here, yeah, during Jan and February period, you will see here it caught up to the implied volatility, right? During Jan end and the February period. And when it caught up suddenly, then this is what has happened. It went into negative. So that is where you have to take caution and reduce your position, or you hedge your position by making it into iron condor or iron butterfly. So you get this kind of cautions using this spread. So whenever this happens, be very cautious with your short volatility strategies. And when it is like this, then it's very smooth to you, unless there is some very big moves in one particular direction. In that case, you have to adjust your strategies. That is something you cannot avoid, even if there is a difference in spread. So because here you're only exploiting the volatility, not the direction. So you have to take the care of direction. If you take care of the direction, then you can be stay safe on the volatility side. Okay, and that is why even when there's a huge difference. I mean, during this June-July period, even when there is a difference, you'll see that the strategy during August and September period, there was loss because the market went in one direction. If you see this red line, the market went in one direction. So the loss here is because of direction and not because of volatility. So if you take care of direction here by adjusting your short triangle strategy, like moving your puts as it going up, then you can take care of this kind of strategy. There is no issue with the volatility as such. So these are the cautions you need to take, and that is how you can exploit this spread between the implied volatility and historical volatility. Also, sometimes what people do is that when when the spread is decreasing between this implied volatility and the historical volatility, some people simply buy a straddle or strangle because they don't know which direction the market might go. Because the volatility can be in any direction, right? So some people simply buy a straddle or strangle and take advantage of the direction in that case, because of that huge moves in like in this case here you can see when it is catching up, there was a huge bars, right? And that is the reason this historical volatility went up and caught up to implied volatility. So these are the kind of things that you can do by looking at this spread difference. Maybe in future we can also add one chart where we can track this spread difference, and it might be much more clear when to look at these kind of opportunities. That's all from me, AP.
Two questions. Can you zoom into the last 3 months only?
Last 3 months, okay.
So there you can see the historical volatility has been steadily going up from September mid onwards, I think. Right? So that was
yes,
one warning that something
yes,
is coming, right?
yes. See, as you
Other
can
thing
see,
is,
there are
yeah,
huge bars. So when you see the
correct,
whole huge bars, it means it is catching up to implied volatility.
right.
So if it is very
Next question, which I'm sure a lot of people will ask, is it possible for this to be calculated on an intraday basis?
intraday basis, yeah, it is possible, but I mean, I never done that, to be honest. Whether that can be exploited or not, I don't know.
Of course, it's
But
just a
yes,
wild
it
thought.
is
I'm not sure
it is possible.
how it
It is
will go.
possible to calculate and plot. Yeah, as I said, for positional trades, this is good, the daily data.
Yes.
So this is something we can experiment and see if we can do that for
Yeah.
intraday. Because if we are going to do intraday, then we have to take care of those particular candles. Then like 15 minutes or 5 minutes, or depending on which time frame you're going to calculate it for.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, it will
15
be interesting.
hourly, that's all. Only 15 minutes and hourly. No need of lower time frame.
It will be interesting. It will be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. But as you said, it's clearly when it is catching up, the warning bells are signing that,
Yeah.
something might happen.
So can we say that only when this historical goes below the implied, then we might see volatility going down and maybe market will start its uptrend? Is that a
Yeah.
fair
I
conclusion?
mean, if you look at the evidence, if you look at the evidence, that is what it is saying, right?
Exactly.
The moment it goes down, for example, here, it has remained sideways, right? So both are hugging each other here at this point of time. They're both hugging, and the moment they started diverging, the
Yes.
market steadily went up. Steadily
Yes.
went up. And again, once it started hugging together, again market went sideways with huge volatility. So empirically, if you look at, it's clear that there is a strong correlation as to how we can interpret this data, at least visually. But maybe
Yes, definitely.
if you plot that, as I said that it might be much more clear how it will behave with respect to price action.
Yeah, another last question is people also talk about 10-day historical volatility. How is that important?
Sorry?
10-day.
10 day, yeah. So basically here 30-day volatility means it is actually 21 trading days. So these are calendar
No.
days.
Okay. Hmm.
And 10-day means it's 7 calendar days.
So there'll be a lot of
So
noise. There'll be a lot of noise
yes,
in a 10-day, right?
yes, there will be a lot of noise. Just like, moving average.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to keep a track of IB and HV at least maybe from time to time, if not on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yes.
So IB tells what the market is expecting, RV or HV tells what has actually happened, and their correlation will tell us what we can expect.
Yes, exactly. So it's kind of, what is a cat and mouse game between them.
Yes.
So and see, what is happening between them accordingly. For example, you can stay away from bullish positions, when they're hugging together.
Right.
And only when the spread is high, then probably then you can take bullish positions. There are multiple ways to read this kind of data.
Correct. Yeah.
So it will be interesting when we plot that spread.
Let's see. Okay. Thanks, Raghunath, and
Okay.
I'm sure
Thank
a lot of
you.
people. Yeah, a lot of people must have read about IV and RV or HV, and so today was a good session to understand what it exactly means and how to interpret it.
Yeah.
And I hope it will benefit all viewers in looking at this data on a regular basis to expect what the market is doing. So
Yeah.
thank you, Raghunath, and thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.